It's not just a hobby. It's even more than a passion. It's looking around and realizing you are amidst God's creation. It's answering the call to pursue in your soul. It's hunting, fishing, and the outdoors. This is the place where we converse about it and hope to inspire, educate, and ignite. This is Chase Outdoors, the podcast. Hello, my hunting and fishing friends. This is Chase Outdoors, the podcast, and I'm your host, Justin Gaiche. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Here we are, episode 21, back from Wyoming. I'm confident that you're going to really enjoy this episode. There's some really cool stories. I think we've got a lot to teach you and talk about today. And, of course, it's super exciting because we're going to give away some swag today. That's right. Stick around with us till the end of this episode. And we're going to talk about how you've got the opportunity to win this absolutely stunning, beautiful, brand new, hot off the press Chase Outdoors t-shirt. Something you can wear to churches, weddings, and potentially at your own funeral. It's so beautiful. You just have to have it. So stick around. We're going to give it away in your size, shipped to your door for absolutely free. And that's pretty cool because everyone loves to win free stuff. So it's a great day. Here we are. It's October 6th. It's my favorite month. It probably should be yours too. Commonly referred to as Bucktober, and for good reason. Here we are coming back from the Wyoming deer season, which always starts on October 1st, which gets this great month kicked off. Brian and I had a fabulous hunt. We're going to talk about that this week. In addition to, we're only a couple of days away from my 11th anniversary. Nicole, my beautiful wife, love you so much. Grateful to spend my life, do life with you, and happy anniversary to you as well, dear. And also, too, we are 1 month away from our son Chase Honor's 9th birthday. I cannot believe it's here already. The kid's getting huge. It's happening so fast. And honestly, the youth hunt here in Wisconsin for the kiddos is the mentor hunt is this weekend. And that's kind of how this podcast got started. I think it's episode 1 is where we talked about Chase's first deer hunt, shooting his first buck and his first doe out on our property here in Marathon County. And so we are approaching 1 year. So thank you to everybody who has listened to us, joined us, liked, commented, shared, all those things. We genuinely appreciate it. The whole purpose for doing this podcast is just to share our love and our passion for the outdoors, help share some of our experience, which maybe can enhance some of your experiences. So as always, thank you very much and appreciate that. And it is also a wonderful, wonderful, great day. Why? Because we were at the taxidermist. Look at that. That's right. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. This beautiful deer. If you're looking on the YouTube channel video, I am blatantly showing off my beautiful public land whitetail buck that I shot a couple of days ago. And if you're listening online, of course, you can always head over to YouTube and check out the video version of this podcast as well. For those of you that do listen on YouTube and did not get episode 20, driving through South Dakota, we apologize. Brian and I did that on our cell phone on the drive out. So go ahead and head over to your favorite podcast app, Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, anything like that, and pick up episode 20 if you'd like to see that. But let's dig in. A lot to cover. Here we are. I have been on vacation, so you might notice that I am energized and rested and ready to rock. It has been just the craziest year at Chase Outdoors, as it has been for so many people for so many different reasons. But the impact that COVID and the riots and the election and things like that have had on our business is crazy. And I got to be honest with you, like, I hate the fact that we're busy because it seems like the world is burning. All right. But the benefit or the silver lining to all this, and like I've mentioned in previous episodes, hunting and fishing participation this year is through the roof. And I think that so much of that comes from the fact that there's so many of the distractions and social gatherings and events and kid stuff that have been canceled. It's getting us back to something that we can do and enjoy. People are out there for so many different reasons. One, just get away from society, which is absolutely a reason why I do it a lot of times. But in addition to that, I mean, people are taking their health more seriously. And if you're taking your health more seriously and you're starting to look at the benefits of wild game in your diet versus the antibiotic slam chunk garbage trash meat that they sell in most of the stores, you know, the push for organic and greater health is growing, I think, in this country. I think in a lot of ways we are getting healthier, which does go against what the media is having to say about it. I just saw a report saying that we are on track to have less deaths in this country in 2020 than we did last year or the year before. I find that fascinating. But anyway, as always, go ahead, continue to be out there, hunt and fish, be safe, social distance, and take precautions for your own health, which includes getting out into the mountains, hiking around, enjoying some time with friends and family, hunting and fishing as we did this last week. So super looked forward to it. We've been working a ton of hours, and part of the reason that I was even able to go on this trip is because we added a new full-timer. I'm super excited to announce Tom Keenan. For those of you who are in depth into the fishing world, especially on walleyes, or if you're part of the Wausau area, pretty much everybody knows who Tom is. Tom was the store manager for 27 years for one of our big box corporate competitors, but even probably more so nationally. Tom is known because he's the #1 money winner in walleye tournament history. He's the RCL champion. He's won Angler of the Year on different levels, Team of the Year, just absolutely incredibly accomplished. In fact, Tom hired me with my first outdoor retail job when I was 15 years old. So it's really cool to see that come full circle and see my good friend come in and join the team and work together with him as our ASM. There's some really exciting things I think that are going to come through our company over the next 12 months. So hang tight. We're working on some neat things, some really neat things. So I'm super excited about that. Obviously, a tremendous amount of experience, not just in fishing, but a very avid trapper and wing shooter and big game hunter. In fact, he leaves tonight for a 2-week trip with his brother for elk hunting, both in Colorado and Wyoming. So Tom, welcome aboard, and good luck to you very much. As soon as he gets back, our good friend and co-worker John Kurth's heading to South Dakota for archery. Sam, I don't know where he's going. Probably everywhere. Illinois, Missouri, both. I don't know. He's always doing everything but working. He's hunting. And then also to Andy Ludwig, our main man over in the archery side. He is heading out to Colorado for elk as well with his dad. So our team is on the road, and we are hunting, and we're doing our best, putting in the extra hours and the late nights and stuff like that, trying to get all the broken crossbows fixed. My goodness, I cannot believe the number of bows that we've seen come through the shop this year. It's incredible, and we're doing our best to keep guys out in the woods, and that's because participation is up. And we definitely saw it, Brian and I did, when we were out in Wyoming. I think we saw more pressure on the public land than we'd ever seen. We stopped in one of the local sports shops. He said absolutely there's multiples of more people out there, and well, that creates challenges for us as hunters. As a whole, it's a really good thing. And we talked about that at depth. You know, there are definitely more people at the boat launches and out in the water. There's definitely more people out there hunting. And it's really easy to go the negative route right away and go, oh my gosh, there's so many people out here. But I think ultimately we have to celebrate it. You know, one of the things that happens in this industry that I don't think that people realize is there's this Pittman and Roberts tax. So if you're a manufacturer like I have been at one time, back when I was the VP of Tyrant, is the fact that when we build product for the purpose of hunting or fishing, we have a 10% excise tax that's put on the manufacturing of products that are used for hunting and fishing. That money goes directly to conservation. So Operation National Parks, different organizations, clean water, all these different things that help increase the quality of our experience in the outdoors. Now the problem is if we don't have people participating, we don't have people buying those goods, we're reducing the number of that tax money that's being spent. So now if that money dries up because of a lack of participation in hunting and fishing, now your government needs to find alternative sources for that money to continue to maintain those projects or just shut them down. And both is terrible news for hunters, fishermen, conservationists, people who just love to be outside. That's terrible. The problem is if they have to find an alternative financing option, the voice of the hunter and fisherman to promote and protect our heritages, our rights, our opportunities, and our access become lessened and weak. So that is the silver lining and the bright side about seeing this giant increase in hunting and fishing that's happening this year. And I also think it's just society-based wise, it's really good for us because the voice of the opponent, you know, whether it's the vegan or the anti-hunter, whatever, the pro-wolf, this whole group, that voice, those people are getting louder and louder and louder and they have these venues and these options through whether it's social media or just all kinds of places where when that voice gets louder, it does start to indoctrinate the generation. So we need to do everything we can to stand firm, stand proud, promote what we're doing, and help grow the sport. And participation is obviously number one. And with the upcoming youth hunt / mentor hunt, this weekend, if you live in Wisconsin, is a phenomenal opportunity to do that. Anybody who hasn't taken hunter safety, or anybody who is a child in Wisconsin, there's no minimum age limit. We've got the opportunity where this weekend, the youth mentor hunt, we can get those people out there and introduce them to the sport of hunting. Now, right now, it is and has been archery season, but this weekend, that demographic, that group has the opportunity to use a firearm and archery equipment to go out and pursue those deer. The weather's nicer this time, so you're going to give them those kids a more positive opportunity, a more positive experience. Definitely right now we're dealing with lots of does on our food sources. There's some buck activity, but we're not into the pre-rut yet, so it's really a primo time when maybe our focus on big trophy bucks is not as focused as it is during the season of the rut, and get out and introduce some of these people. My son went with me last year for the first time, shot a 6-point buck and a doe, which was really cool, and we're going to participate this weekend, but I also think that my 8-year-old niece Nadia is going to join us, and that's really exciting because my brother and his wife have largely been vegetarians for a really, really long time, and just now are starting to shift away from that. And Nadia seeing Chase have that success really got her excited and encouraged her to want to hunt. She's the one that's pushing for this, and that's really cool. So we've been responsibly teaching her firearm safety, and she's been participating in that. And this week we're going to have the opportunity to go sit in the blind, and maybe, hopefully, she can harvest her first deer. So that is such a cool experience. I'm super excited about it, and I'd encourage any of you guys who don't have anything going on, and girls, that this weekend that we take that opportunity to go out and mentor somebody new, whether it's a young kid, your kid, the neighbor kid, whatever. Let's get them out there and after it. So that's really neat. So let's talk about Wyoming. So my friend Brian and I have been heading out to Wyoming for about 10 years now on a semi-regular basis. The first time we went and hunted, we were down in the southern part of the state and ended up in a very heavy timber area where visibility was really limited. The three of us went out there, and we did harvest one pretty nice mule deer buck. We had a blown opportunity on another one, as in I missed. And we had a good hunt, but I wouldn't have called it a fantastic hunt. We had a low deer population, ran into a fair amount of pressure, mostly a lot of other guys that were elk hunting and things of that nature. And we hadn't gone back for a while. So 6 years ago now, Brian and I went and hunted. We were invited to hunt on a piece of private property. We had a great hunt. Brian had been there 2 years earlier with another group, and they had the space for me to join and participate, and we had a great time. We shot some absolute monster, beautiful mule deer. 2 years ago, once again, we had another great hunt out there. I shot my biggest mule deer. Brian shot another really nice one, as always, and we had a great, phenomenal hunt. Super people, love hanging out with them, but this year, there wasn't the opportunity for us to go and hunt there. And the area that we hunt usually takes a preference point or two to get into. And because we are planning on doing an elk hunt next year, this was the year that we felt that we needed to go and do this. Otherwise, it'd be probably a couple of years before we could go to Wyoming again. And I'm so passionate about that area. Basically, once you're driving across the longest straight line in the entire country, and that's I-90 from La Crosse all the way into Wyoming, just straight and flat, pretty much nothingness. If I didn't like Minnesota before, driving through southern Minnesota makes me like it even less, because it's the most nothingness of anywhere in the country. Iowa and Nebraska are so much more thrilling and exciting to drive through than southern Minnesota is. Terrible, awful. But once you cross the Missouri River in Chamberlain, South Dakota, I feel like that's the entry or the gateway into the West. The terrain starts to change. You start to see antelope, you start to see mule deer, and then you're getting ever closer. You start to see wall drug sign, wall drug sign, wall drug sign, and then you get into the Badlands. And for me, as somebody who just I'm not a big I want to say American history buff, for example, like Washington, D.C., colonial United States, the Northeast, New England area, it just doesn't interest me. I had no desire to go there. It's just, there's just too many people. Just too many people. But the history, American history of the West, I absolutely just adore. Teddy Roosevelt, Sitting Bull, Wild Bill, all of those guys, Custer. I just love it. And every year that we go make a trip out there, which I've done several, we stop at Wall Drug, I grab a book and kind of dig myself into it. It's about the only reading I do that's not emails. But I do just absolutely love that country. And it just gets progressively better and better and better. And you get into the Black Hills, and then you get into the Bighorns and Yellowstone. It's my favorite place in the country. I just absolutely love it. The people are amazing. The way of life is amazing. You're still holding on to some of that classic, great America, where people, work hard and aren't offended by being kind to each other. So I do love it out there. We made a pretty good time getting out there. Everything was safe and comfortable. But here we are doing something that we've never done before in this realm of we've never hunted the places that we're hunting. So I think one of the things that's important is giving yourself quite a bit of time the day before season or the day before you start hunting to do some scouting around. So Brian and I put a lot of miles on the day before season. Went up through one area, the very first spot that we pulled up to, using our Onyx maps on our phone and our GPS to determine where we can and can't go. That is a completely invaluable tool, is to know where you are. Trespassing out there or anywhere really is not something that I have any interest in doing, especially out there, because they might bury you. But we saw some nice mule deer on the very first spot that we stopped at. And when we went into the next area where like the parking or the camping would be, there was people absolutely everywhere. Every single parking spot, 4, 5, 6 different people, trucks, campers, tents, vehicles, whatever, were parked there. And we kind of just determined that that wasn't the area for us. So we continued to move on over the entire course of the summer. Basically what I was looking for was reasonably difficult access. I didn't want like a driveway with a big parking spot where there could be 12 vehicles. I was looking for those spots where that state land or that BLM land, just the corner just touched a road where I could pull off on the side, and maybe we had to walk a long ways to get to the area that we were getting to. But one of the spots we thought was really difficult to get to because we thought there was this section of road that was closed. But what we had found by being there and putting in the time and work and hiking back and actually seeing the road, realizing that it was something that we could drive on, and that this section that said that it was closed, that it wasn't. And I mean, there was just all these different things that you can't really figure out until you get there. So the first morning we get into the spot and we hike a couple miles back. And we see mule deer and we see some bucks. We really didn't see anything for people until midday when we got up and decided to move. And then we ran into one guy who was really, really nice. He'd hunted out there for a long time and sat there and talked with him. Then we sat down on a spot that looked really good that evening. So there was some land that we could not hunt that looked like it had a good food source on it. We sat on the draw where we believed those deer were going to come out of high country and walk right down in front of us on their way to the food source. So we sit on there looking for mule deer, and there was some naps in between. I'm not going to lie. There might be video. I snore like mad, so that'll probably surface on Facebook, I'm sure, whenever Brian feels obligated or excited to do so. Excuse me. Coffee break. But anyway, we're sitting there, and Brian had just gotten done taking a little siesta, sits up, and I'm going through and doing some work emails on my phone, which I know I shouldn't have been doing. My wife told me not to do, but can't help myself. And Brian says, buck, right down below us. And out steps this nice, by Wisconsin terms, a 10-pointer, by Western terms, a 5x5 whitetail. And we were kind of surprised to see whitetail because the whitetails predominantly were staying on that private food source. We'd watch them bed down. So the idea that they would hike up into the hills didn't really, cross our minds. I took one look at him. I'm like, that's a really nice whitetail. And then all of a sudden he kind of vanished. And one thing you look at with these draws is when you get down into the bottom of them, you think you can see everything, but you really can't. A lot of times there's a really sharp drop off. Maybe it's 5 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet straight down, where the years of the water runoff have really dug this drudge out. that basically a buck or a doe or whatever, sometimes I think a truck could drive down there and you might be 300 yards away and think you can see it, but you can't. Like they could walk right past you and have no idea. So the only reason we saw this buck is because he actually stepped up out of that to eat on some buckbrush in front of us. And then he vanished again. And Brian looks to the left and goes, "There's a bigger one." And I look, and sure enough, there's another 10-point whitetail that's even bigger. So I move, put my gun up, and I put it on the deer. And I'm getting ready to get settled in, but I always check my surroundings, especially when you're taking long shots with a rifle, because it doesn't take a lot to really mess things up. If you take your bullet and you move it a half a degree off of where you're aiming by hitting something like a stick or a patch of grass or something like that, the further you get away, I mean, you can entirely miss the deer based off of that. So I'm always very conscious of those things. So I laid my gun on my backpack, angling straight down. I got on the deer, and I wasn't comfortable with the shot because there was some grass in front of me and I didn't like it. So by the time I repositioned my backpack, trying to get back on this nice buck, he's gone. And I know that he's dipped down into this trough. I can't see it, but I know it exists because I've been in this type of terrain too many times to not know it's there. And I immediately understand, because of experience, that once a deer goes down into there, it's extremely easy for me to not see it again. The next time I see it, it might be 700 yards away and on another property. So I go back, and this other buck steps back out, and I take one look at him, and I say, you know what? On DIY, public land, even on my own land, I'm shooting this deer. Like, he's a nice one. I know there's a bigger one there, but I'm not going to sit there and blow an opportunity on a deer that I know that I would be completely happy with for something that's maybe 5 or 10 inches bigger that I may or may not see again. And with so much of the unknown, because of the pressure and because we'd never been there before, I didn't hesitate once. Brian gave me a range, 280 yards, put the crosshair on it, pulled on the trigger, I 10-ringed him. It's amazing how absolutely incredibly strong these animals are. I use a Bergara B14 rifle in 300 Win Mag, and I use a Federal Trophy Copper and 165 grain bullet. I love that combination. The rifle's amazing. I've been super thrilled with it. I use a Vortex Viper HSLR, 4-16 by 44 power with the BDC reticle. Honestly, that combination is absolutely fantastic for Western hunting. If you're looking at shooting 0 to 500 yards, that is an absolutely killer combo at most working men's affordable price. That is not a custom ultra, crazy rifle. It's a standard production rifle, priced competitively with where you would expect to see a Browning or a Remington or anything like that. But it's a really nice rifle. The other one that we sell a lot of is the Browning Hell's Canyon. Is absolutely extraordinary. The one thing that I would give in credit to the Hell's Canyon, when now having spent more time with that backpacking style hunting, is the fact that it's just physically lighter. And that's a really nice thing too. Also too, it's Cerakoted, it's got a great recoil pad. I could go on forever, but either of those guns are really, really high on my list, for your sub $1,100 price point gun. Really fantastic. But anyway, we go down in the draw, we get my buck, and we start to break him open. Now, the method that I used for cleaning my deer and getting him out of the woods was as follows. So I do what's called the gutless method, which is really quite easy. Basically, I take a cut. I don't take the guts out of the deer, which I've really come to love. The only thing I'm sacrificing is the inner loins, the tenderloins on the deer. But if you have a gut shot deer, which I did in this case because of the second shot that I took on him, things get rank. We're looking at potentially putting meat into game bags and hanging them for potentially a day or two or they sit on ice. So clean meat is so important when we're talking about not immediately going from harvest to process. So I'll gladly sacrifice those tenderloins on the inside to make sure that the rest of my meat is clean and well cared for. So I strip my deer all the way up the back, all the way up back to the base of the head, because I'm going to cape this deer out and keep it for taxidermy, for mounting. So then I start to peel the hide from the center of the back, along the spine, away from the animal. And that way I can take my shoulders out, my back straps, I can take my neck out, and take my hindquarters out, all without touching any stomach, rear end, reproductive, any of that kind of stuff. I don't have to mess with any of that. There's no fluids involved with that at all, and I think it just helps me keep really, really clean, high quality meat that way. And I'll probably continue to do that in any other situation other than maybe out on my own property where I can go and grab the four-wheeler or the truck, go get them, hang them, clean them well, wash the inside out quickly, and get those inner loins out. It's just a really easy, reasonably fast way of breaking a deer down in doing it for high quality meat. So and there's plenty of videos online, but that is a really, really nice way of doing it. And then what we did after we broke the deer down was we put them in our packs. I use a Badlands pack called a Clutch, which is discontinued. The replacement for that would be the Vario system. And packs are super important. Bryant uses a Metcalf, and both are great packs. But the one thing that I think, if you're looking at buying a pack of what you're going to use to pack meat out, that Vario is really nice. First of all, Badlands is a great company. Their comfort level for packing meat out is very, very high, and they're a quiet material, which I really like when you've got no wind. It's a super, super quiet pack, and I think that's really important if you're wearing it in stalking or if you're using it for bow hunting. That's why I put that really high on my list. But one of the things that's really important when you're talking about packing heavy weight, and I would have to say that with my rifle, my water, spotting scope, I had my cook stove, I had my food, everything in there, plus a head, a cape, antlers, and half of a deer, 2/4 of backstrap. My pack was probably over 100 pounds. And when you can get that weight as close to your spine as possible, that helps with the balance big time. So it's not pulling against you, which pulls on your shoulders, which creates very unsteady walking, and also helps increase the fatigue very, very quickly. You want that weight coming straight down rather than pulling back against you. And with packs like the Mystery Ranch, Metcalf, or with the Badlands Vario, you can take the pack that's on the frame and remove it so that the stuff that's in your bag currently, your extra layers, your coats, your water, the lighter stuff, can be further away from your center of gravity, and that meat can be next to the frame up against your back, and that helps you carry that weight better. And you get a lot of people that come in from Wisconsin who forever, for us, a $20 backpack to throw an apple, gut and gloves and a knife and maybe a grunt tube is more than sufficient. But when we're talking about out west and taking an entire days or multiple days, like us with sleeping bags and tents, which we ended up not using, that adds up really, really fast and becomes a huge part of the physical attribute of your hunt. So if you're looking at packs, it's hard to justify the expense that comes with a high quality pack like that until you actually have to use one, and then it makes sense. And that's one thing that's nice too, is obviously those packs get bloody after you use them. And there's a couple of ways. Like for me, I removed my frame so I was able to get my pack into the washing machine, and things like brand new. In Brian's case, because it's a Cordura construction, he chose to use hydrogen peroxide and just spray it off, and the thing cleaned up really nice as well too. So that's one of those things when you're spending $300 to $600 on a pack and you want to care for it. Both of those companies do things that make it really easy to maintain. But awesome stuff, highly from a gearhead standpoint. Think very, very highly of both of those companies. Very good quality. Also, too, that unconditional lifetime guarantee that comes with Badlands is really unbeatable. But once we packed that animal out, the other thing that I would say absolutely is walking sticks are a huge advantage, especially when we were talking about our really hard elevation climb where we were going straight up before we were able to descend down to the truck. Just from a stability standpoint, allowing you to move forward and lean your weight on those sticks rather than standing up straight and constantly be pulling forward against the center of gravity that wants to pull you backwards. So we get down to the bottom, and all we had to do was walk the straight road to get back to the truck. And we were a couple hundred yards away, and some ranchers with a flatbed from Wisconsin came by. And of course, they're from Wisconsin, so they were drinking Busch Lattes in the truck, and he gave us a ride back, let us sit on the back. And I remember when he hopped off of the back of the truck, I whispered to Brian, like, man, could I go for one of those beers? We walked past him. Two of those puppies came sliding out of the back window, and it was, I do not drink Busch Light. I'm a beer snob. I like my box and my IPAs and all that stuff. That was the best beer I've ever had in my life. It's something too, like if you've ever packed out animals like that, those heavy weights for a long time, when you take that pack off your weight, I swear to God, it feels like angels are lifting you from underneath your shoulders forward and up into the heavens. It's just the craziest feeling when you take that, literally take that weight off your shoulders. How you feel like you're like, like in a Red Bull commercial, gives you wings. It was just awesome. But we had what a great first day. I'm tickled to death with the deer. He's got really nice mass. He's got great symmetry. It's just a really pretty, beautiful deer. Score-wise, 120s. Don't really care. Public land, hunt with friends. I'm on vacation. That's not me. It's never gonna be me. If I think I'm gonna take him to the taxidermist, I'm happy. I'm just I don't need to measure my deer to measure my manhood. I was super thrilled and tickled with him. He's got great character, and he's going to look awesome hanging in the wall of the home. So the cool thing is that's day one. It's Brian's turn, and we can do whatever he wants, however he wants, whatever. We were both tired. There's no doubt whatsoever. And that was one thing that going into this hunt, our planning and our scheduling, and if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And when we got out there, had the plans of sleeping in a tent and going back 9 miles and filtering our water, and there wasn't a lot of water to be had. And in addition to that, the first night we stayed in a hotel because that allowed us to spend more time scouting. So we found a place like $60, and for $30 to be able to go back and sleep in a bed and wash up, take a shower, rest your body, because it's tough stuff. It was well worth it. So we ended up staying in a hotel all week, which I know is like straight up Cheaterville, but I don't care. It's supposed to be a vacation a little bit. It just so happened that where we were hunting was near a hotel, and that was the big reason why. There wasn't a lot of BLM land in the area. You can't put your tent on state land, so it just had to make some adjustments, and we're glad that we did. It was allowed us to actually take a break on day two, go in and get a good quality breakfast, stop in at the sporting goods store, and shoot the breeze with some guys. But we sat the night after we sat the morning in the same area, and we continued to see deer, mule deer, bucks, and does, and ran into just more pressure. Seemed like the pressure was increasing as people started to maybe to figure out how to get in there. Maybe they heard that I killed the rattlesnake that tried to bite Brian. So coast was clear. It was safe to get in there. I don't know, but anyway, we had a rattlesnake incident. That was a little hairy. We'll have to throw the pictures up there, but coast is clear. Everything's safe. Self-defense, definitely. He was angry. But anyway, day three, we decided to go to a new area. Now, we stopped at this area and glassed it. And it was kind of the opposite of what I just said earlier that we didn't want to go into. And that was something that wasn't easily accessible. And this place absolutely was easily accessible, and it was very apparent that there was definitely hunting pressure there. There was people camped there, but one of the things that seemed like everyone that we talked to was antelope hunting. And, I can deal with people walking around. Sometimes that's a benefit to push and move deer that otherwise wouldn't want to do that. So let's go give that a whirl. There was a local just glassing for the sake of glassing, and he kind of said, well, if you guys go down in this area, go a couple miles down that way, you'll get away from people, and there's usually more deer down there versus where everyone else is going for antelope. So we went and climbed in there, and we saw a pile of deer. Does, whitetail does, muley does, small whitetail bucks, just tons of deer. And it was just a beautiful sunrise, it was awesome. Except for we didn't find target deer. We did see some people moving around, so we thought that we were going to push a little bit deeper to try to get away from some of that pressure. I pulled out my little miniature camp stove and made some oatmeal, and it was just an awesome morning. I love glass, and I love being able to see a long ways. Using that high quality glass, I use Vortex Razor HD 10x42s for kind of my speed scouting, and then I use my spotting scope for getting a better look at stuff. So we start to head a little bit further south, and I see some muley does up on the edge of this hill, and I'm trying to direct Brian into where those are so he can take a look at them. And as he's trying to find them, he spots a really nice buck, and then looks around. We find out there's 4 bucks, muley bucks, standing in this area. Some 3x, some 3x4s, 2x2s, and then this 5x4. and they're about 800 yards away. But we're kind of in the wide open, exposed spot where we don't have a lot of movement options to get closer. So we sit down and we just kind of catch ourselves and formulate a plan. And that's one thing where a lot of people want to, when they're hunting with multiple people, split up so that they can look at more country. And even I'm guilty of that, like wanting to cover more country, get another ridge back, split up, see more things. But there's something to be said for hunting together as a team. Because two sets of eyes on the same thing obviously sometimes brings up different things. You can see deer maybe that the other guy didn't see, which is a benefit. The camaraderie is nice too, but when it comes to the high pressure situation, seeing a deer, making a plan, talking each other through things, there's a huge benefit as working together as a team to get closer to the deer, especially on a stalk. So Brian and I formulate a plan, and we've got to go back in the direction we came from, try to get ourselves out of view, go down this drainage, and try to get closer. The problem is this drainage is kind of exposed to where you can put your binoculars up and see the deer the entire time, but there's buckbrush and stuff like that down in that draw, so that if they're not looking, you can move. So it's really a team effort, where I'm glassing, and as soon as they look away, I'm like, Brian, move 10 feet, move 20 feet, go, 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 and then I would watch, and we'd reverse so that we were together working on getting closer. And I think an hour into this stalk, we were at 800 yards, and an hour later, we're at like 760 yards because we had to make this big giant loop. But we knew if we could get to a point, which there was a few hairy spots where we were exposed, that if we could get through those, we could hit a spot where we get around the corner and they couldn't see us, and we could basically walk in the wide open and get to under 100 yards of these deer. So we've made it to that point finally, and we're working on it now, trying to be quiet with our steps. And all of a sudden this muley doe shows up, and we spooked it, and its, I guess, idea of escape was to run around the corner towards where those bucks were bedded. So we kind of had to wave our arms and like run up the hill a little bit to try to get it to turn around and change course and go back the other direction. The other thing that we had to keep in mind the whole time was the wind direction. The wind was kind of changed very much when you get down in the bottom. You can be up top and think that you're playing it just right, but there's a reason they bed where they bed. They can smell everything that they can't see, and they can see everything that they can't smell. They're really good at that. So we had a very fine line where the wind was blowing in their direction but not right at them, and as long as the wind wasn't catching and turning and going back up the hill to where they were, we were going to be okay. But we also thought that if we got there fast enough, that even if they did react to us with scent, we would still be able to get in and get a shot. So we get to a point where Brian can get into position. I stay back a little bit because there's no reason at this point. There's nothing that I can do to benefit him by being beside him. So I'm back, 50 yards, 60 yards or whatever, and he moves into position, gets the opportunity. Buck's already up on his feet because there was another one that saw him as he was getting to the rock, but it didn't matter. He made the shot, got the buck, and here we are. And that moment of an entire year's worth of planning and prepping in hiking and literally like just researching gear, like, when people look at the stuff that we carry in the store, it's not for just any old reason. It's because we obsess over this stuff and compare and research and talk to reps and talk to companies. And we're very specific about it. And you can see the influence of the West in our store here in Wisconsin for sure, without question, because there's no place that's harder on equipment than out there compared to here in Wisconsin. So just everything, going to places where we didn't know we were going, DIY, public land, pressure, everything like that accumulation, it just rocked us. Like 2.5 days of hunting, and we're done. Not just with any old little fork buck or anything like that, but 2 really nice deer, a really nice whitetail and a really nice mule deer. And if we shot bigger, yeah, blah, 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 sure, of course. Yeah, no doubt. But it was awesome. And to do it, by the side of your best friend and somebody that, our families have done life together for well over a decade, more than that. it was just awesome. There was definitely an emotional overcharge in that part where like, this is why I do that. The pack out sucked. It was hot by that time. It was heavy, and it was long, and it was all uphill. There was no easy part of that pack out. It was brutal, but at the same time too, like that phrase, it hurts so good. Like, so just awesome hunt. We were able to spend basically the rest of the day, caping the deer out, back to the hotel, get a shower, get everything on ice, take care of things the way we were supposed to take care of them. Go to the steakhouse and get a good meal and get a good night's sleep. I mean, it was pretty much the perfect hunt. But one of the things to wrap up what made this hunt special was without question the preparation that went into it, both planning with your gear, weighing and stuff, and making sure we're doing our research. And we'll talk about gear in just a second. The physical part of it, because had Brian and I not been putting weight in our pack and hiking up and down the ski hill outside of our home all summer, those pack outs would have been, I don't know if impossible, but brutal to the point where you risk a high level of injury that could have affected us for weeks or months, as opposed to waking up in the morning and that 8 hours of sleep is enough to recharge, refuel, and be ready to go for the next day. And then the other thing is just the use of the technology that's out there and making adjustments using that technology. You get to a place where you think you're going to hunt. There's a bunch of people there. Plan B, C, D, E. Have 20 plans ready to go. But it also was nice to get done early, to have the time to come home, to process our deer properly, because we do it ourselves, and get a day's of rest. Go and do stuff like a podcast is awesome. So, talking about gear, I want to just touch on a few gear things before we wrap up. The one thing that I found was very important is in the nighttime out there, it gets very cold very fast. We're talking 30, 35 degrees for the lows, and then highs around 70. So it's a huge fast swing. The other part of that is we're going in the opposite is our physical exertion. We go from hiking up a hill or hiking way back and getting sweated up to sitting still and glassing for hours on end in the cold, and then that turns into moving or glassing in the middle of the day when it's hot out. So, and then sitting again when it's getting cold out, and then hiking back out to the truck. So you have these giant, my body's doing different things, and the temperature outside's doing different things. So the clothing that you wear is probably as important as anything that you do. And one thing, it all starts with a firm foundation, and that's making sure that you've got a high quality boot. And by that, the really great brands out there like Kenetrek are built to handle the pressure that you're going to put, the elevation, the rough terrain, the weight that you're going to put on it. And if you don't have a good boot and you get blisters or sore feet or all this, it's going to stop you from doing what we did, like with Brian's deer, and getting to a spot where like there's pressure here, there's not the bucks we want to, we're going to keep pushing back. If you got foot problems, you might stop and turn around, go back to the truck, or just drive around. So it's hugely important for really good footwear. And part of good footwear is making sure you've got a good sock, a polypropylene liner, maybe merino wool, things that can absorb, maintain their heat, be low friction to stop you from getting blisters, and also do a great job of wicking moisture off of your foot. So those combinations, Kenetrek makes a liner, they make a merino wool. There's other companies out there that do, but high quality sock, not named cotton, is without question something that needs to go inside of that high quality boot. The other side is lightweight layering, because obviously I'm adding clothing and I'm taking clothing off throughout the course of the day to adjust to the different things that I'm doing. I really like the Sitka Core base layer, just the t-shirt, not the whole thing, because it does an amazing job of being very, very cool in hot weather and wicking moisture away really, really fast. Faster than any other piece of apparel I've ever owned, the Sitka Core base layer does a great job of wicking moisture away. Then I have the Core Heavyweight, which is the same thing in a long sleeve I can wear just over the top if there's not a lot of wind. If I need a strong insulating mid layer, I have the Primaloft Poofy for inside, but wind stops, specifically using Gore Infinium product to keep the wind off of you, is really, really, really important out there because it's always windy. So I use the outer shell with the mountain jacket to go over the top of that midi. So I have, by layering and having different multi-purpose layering that's also very packable and lightweight, I can adjust to whatever conditions I'm doing physically or nature's doing temperature condition wise that way. As far as my legs go, I do have a pair of the Core Heavyweight insulated bottoms that I rarely wear, sometimes in cold mornings, but the Timberline pant is like the bomb. So the Timberline pant has Cordura in the seat of your pants and the knees. And obviously a lot of times when you're stalking, you're crawling on your knees, or when you're glassing, you're sitting on your duff. So it's nice that it has those in that position, but it still has a very stretchable, very quiet construction everywhere else that makes it very, very flexible and athletically movable as you're doing, all the hiking and stuff like that. In addition to that, it's got a very thin knee pad that goes in, which is absolutely pivotal when you're talking about going across things like cactus and rock when you're trying to get into that position to make the kill. Absolutely awesome. It also has a very lightweight pair of suspenders, which allows you to not have to tighten up on the waistline as much with the pant, which to me does a lot of good for the comfort level of my back and hips. So it's really, if you're going to buy one single piece, or two, I'll say two pieces. One, Core lightweight for next to skin to get that moisture off of your upper body, and then that Timberline pant for the athletic mobility, and the combination of the ruggedness and durability are absolutely huge. Without questioning the quality of your glass, buy the best glass that you can afford. It is absolutely impeccable. Those deer will camouflage in the wide open. If they're not moving, they're hard to see. So obviously good glass is going to do that. In last but least, one really cool little thing is I had a Nalgene bottle with me, and John gave me something called a cap. And I don't sell them yet. But one thing that's cool about the cap is it replaces the traditional cap on a Nalgene bottle, which is the large wide mouth, and it tapers it down to another smaller cap, so when you're drinking it, you're not pouring it all over the place. When it's hot out and you're in high desert, every ounce of water that you can carry is valuable, and I really, really liked how easy that was to hike and drink out of that at the same time. Yes, I had a bladder, but we were going through the 2-3 liter bladder and a Nalgene bottle a day just because of the physical exertion and the dry conditions that we were in. But I think to wrap up, I hope that understanding better, like kind of how we did our hunt, maybe encourages you to go and do and try that thing. Obviously, if you guys have questions, drop them down in the comment box. But that's going to take us back to the free t-shirt. We're going to give away this free t-shirt now. All we need you guys to do is go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment. And next week, when we do our next episode, we're going to draw and give this thing away. This t-shirt is from Bell & Canvas. It's a very light, athletic, soft, comfortable, something you're actually going to want to wear. Like I said, weddings, funerals, first dates, last dates, anything. It's pretty much the coolest shirt that's ever made. So as always, we appreciate you. Like you said, we do this because we want to encourage you for your participation in the great outdoors. And furthermore, if you like and subscribe to our show, it helps encourage us and keep us going. It's going to alert you when we have a new episode. We're going to keep doing giveaways moving forward. And like I said, we just super appreciate it. We love all the support, great comments that we get from you guys. Also, make sure chase-outdoors.com for all of your hunting and fishing needs. We're adding new products every day, like this super awesome t-shirt that otherwise is only $9.99. So we appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next week. As always, God bless. Good luck on the water and in the woods.